And on the schedule, the end is near, or I love pessimism, and I couldn't really get the pessimism in there good, so it's still there, but I don't really emphasize that in the presentation. And this is something that the airline industry taught me, that if I set my expectations really, really low, then I'm usually not disappointed. So pessimism, I got a lot of that in my life, and the good news is that it's often proves worse than the situation calls for, so it's good. So I just, in my own personal life, it's a recurring theme, and so it's a recurring theme this just now obviously pointed out. But today it's the end is near.
It's dated tomorrow. Tomorrow is the end.
Maybe today, maybe yesterday, but it's real close. It's real close. So it's like, what end is near? It's like, well, here's my pessimism. Unfortunately, it's the end of all of us is getting closer every day. It's like, as has been witnessed, unfortunately, with many friends recently, we're all going to die. More optimistic.
What?
Yeah, sorry.
I will speak for yourself.
Okay, well, I'm going to. Okay, how about that? I'm going to.
I'm going to live forever or die trying.
Yes, and the world as we knew it always changes. Every day is a new day, so the world is always changing. So in a way, it's ending. But the good old days also ending, but new good old days are beginning. So things are ending, things are beginning, and this is not a new problem. But the important part of the problem is, when I die, what's going to happen to all my calculator stuff?
The dumpster.
So my kids have that. This is what it's all came from.
They threaten me. If I don't sell them, they'll just junk.
Yeah, my kids know all about the dumpster, and they know what to do with it.
But you really answered the question yourself based on the size of this box over there.
Yeah? Hopefully, well, yeah, something's going to happen with all of this junk.
Junk?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was thinking about my kids and what they say. They're on my mind now. So we need to do something about this, in my opinion. And so, out of fairness to the world, here in this room and people like us around the world, have a lot of things that we've acquired over the years. This knowledge, hardware, I have that. The software, secrets, resources, research. There's all these things, and if they're in the dumpster, nobody's going to be able to look at them in the future, even if and somebody might want to. So that's.
The homeless guy with the HP Prime shirt.
Yeah, he might.
Maybe we'll find a new planet. Maybe we'll find a new planet with life, and there'll be some place that we can donate some over there.
I think recently, so there's a problem, and I just didn't want to come here and talk to all of you guys and say there's a problem. I really wanted to have a point. So there's a problem, and what can we do about it? Is the deal. And I've struggled with this for a long time. So here's my basic points: is we can learn from the past, we can educate ourselves, we can plan for the future, and then we can, if we have a plan, we can act on the plan. So learn from the past is, what did they do, or what happened before? Again, this is not a new problem. So what happened, and what did that particular group of people do, or what happened to their particular thing they were really interested in that I'm not? But what did they do to make it survive or not survive? And so what can we do to position ourselves and the calculator world for the future that's coming after the end of whatever is ending?
What did the slide rule people do? That may be a good.
No, not what they did, because they didn't do a very good job of it yet. So we'll come to that
They
later.
put some websites and all that, instructions how to use it.
Oh, yeah. We have a few here, but it's. So there's been a lot of things like this that have been at one point in time at the top of popularity, at the top of their own technology world, and have plummeted to the bottom of their worth curve, and then either survived or not survived. And so, so we can look at these things from the past, maybe learn something from them, and try to get the successful bits that happened incorporated into our calculator world. So, so we can look at these types of things in the past. What ones survived, which ones didn't survive, what did they do to survive or not survive, or what could have been done better from our opinion, and maybe learn from that and apply some of that to the calculator world. The first thing that I ever really noticed that people older than me cared a lot about that I didn't was the Model T. As I was a teenager going to car shows, there's like all these old guys really interested in Model Ts. Now, that's kind of neat, you know, those are really popular, but I don't really care. But they cared a lot about them, and there were a lot of people, and I was wondering now what happened to all of that. And it's kind of survived, and the Model T Club of America has actually a paid membership of, there's I think clubs in nearly every state, which is amazing, and Richard might appreciate this. They have 6 annual issues of the Vintage Ford magazine published. So they've done something, and they're hanging on. My brother points out that the prices have dropped, and the prices are only holding up for the really, 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 really nice ones, and the everyday things are kind of fading away. Yes.
There's some Model T guys in my Mustang club, and one of the things that's always impressed me is the huge ecosystem of remanufactured and newly manufactured parts. You could pretty much build a brand new Model T from scratch.
Even now?
Put your mind to it.
Wow. Yeah,
It's not quite the same. If you got your 41 with broken posts, nobody has a new case half for you.
Yeah, maybe someday. So
Maybe someday.
Maybe someday. Yeah, but the,
Take care of that.
The 3D printed quality isn't good enough.
yeah, but I thought the Model T guys, there's a lot of them out there,
Yeah,
and it's still hanging on.
They're really old, though. Really, really old.
Really, yeah.
The guys, not the cars.
Yeah, and the interest level is kind of fading away with those guys, because again, that was in their childhood or their younger days. That was a really cool thing to have, and not in mine, and certainly not in my kids or their kids. So it's perspective. The typewriters, you used to be able to go and pick up as many of these as you wanted for nothing, but they're bouncing back now somehow. I know this because one of my teenage daughters, who kind of wants to be a hipster, she pops out of the blue occasionally and comes up with these things like, Dad, do you have any typewriters that I can like sit around at my desk so I can look cool? Like, oh yeah, you want this one or that one, or do you want a type of paper? And she's like, no, not type of paper, I just want to look nice, but make the other kids jealous. But anyway, so typewriters somehow are coming back. Apparently there's some difference now in manual versus electric price structures, but so there's typewriters which used to be nothing are now bouncing back somehow. I need to figure out why. LP albums are also, my same daughter's like, Dad, do you have a turntable I can put in my room and look cool? It's like, well, yeah. And so the kids these days, LPs are going, but if I go to the place to buy LPs, I've got to battle my way to the stack, because there are people actually shopping and paying for these things now. Still, it's kind of buy high and sell low if you're buying or selling, but so they're bouncing back. Slide rules. Personally, I don't think the slide rule guys have done a very good job of keeping up the interest, and I don't know, something happened to them and kind of drive them out of the market. I don't know quite what that was, but I don't think they're doing a good job. They do have some.
They have a journal every twice a year.
Oh, they do.
The Authorite Society.
The Authorite. I didn't do my research on that. I looked at somebody else. I wrote down their name here. The Slide Rule Museum has a list of donors, and they have 15 or 20 people listed as donors over the past couple of years, which it's not really sustainable. Macintosh computers are surviving a little bit somehow. Again, I remember them at the bottom of their worth curve where I could have gotten pallets of them for nothing, but they're popular now. If we can just get the HP tend to generate some hipster interest in calculators. So there's things to learn from Palm Pilots. They've not done that good. I've got a box full of these if somebody wants them. They were really, I don't understand why these have not bounced back, because these I thought were really cool.
They really were.
They were very, very useful.
They could do so many things.
They run 342.
Especially the ones with the graffiti and the stylus.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
There's things to learn from. So what say, what do they, how do they survive? How do they not survive? What do they have in common? I've been dabbling in it. I really need to dive in more and really get some attributes to figure out. And what can we do for the successful models with calculators and maybe make calculators successful in the future also. Here in the calculator world, jumping ahead, we need some strategies for success in the future. By success, I mean that keep the awareness of and the popularity of calculators ongoing and improving, to outlive me, and to have all of the specialized things that we have developed and saved up and published and recorded and come up with survive for the future, so that people, when they remain interested in this, can look it up and do something about it. It's kind of a challenging problem. So, again, my problem statement: we want the knowledge, the resources, hardware, software, secrets, research to be available to people in the future. And how can we do that? When I think of this, closest to home, I think of all the stuff I have in my basement. Like I brought that box of small books. A lot of people picked up the little HP 33 series books. I have a bunch more of those, so if you missed out on some or you're looking for something, let me know. I might have it. It's just not
How
doing
come
me.
you had so many duplicates?
I actually got all this from Joe Rigdon. A lot of you might remember Joe when he kind of got out of the calculator, and he got a lot of duplicates. So
Okay.
I've got a huge box full of this stuff. So I just grabbed a bunch and brought them here. Just kind of spread the wealth. And
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
yeah, yeah, and there's more.
You're in excellent
Yes,
shape.
Richard.
I have a suggestion: when you go home, get on the list, brouhaha list,
Mhm.
and just say, I'm back from the conference, and I have a fairly good collection of describe what it might be. Send me an email if there's something you are looking for, and that could help.
Yeah, that's what I think. I will do that because I don't have a good inventory of these things, but I kind of know what might be there. So I should make a list and send it out.
Oh, that would be even better.
Yeah, because like I said, it's not doing me any good. It's not doing us any good just sitting in my basement. So, in the spirit of Joe, I don't know if you really know this is his spirit or not. Is I'm trying to get these things to people who really, really appreciate them or have been looking for them and could use them more than he or I ever did. Next. This will be a little bit complete, but here are some of the things that I was thinking about that we're doing now. Currently, state of affairs, this was all the way inspired by Richard's story of him trying to find a place for his apparently very extensive collection of real-life literature.
Is correct.
And being very, very nicely and politely refused by the museum guy and wherever he was. I wrote that down, but it's so Richard's got a problem. There's a guy on the HP Museum forum who had the same type of problem over in Europe. It was Franz P. de Vries, which is probably not how you pronounce his name, but he had the same problem. He's got all this stuff. What do I do with it? Nobody wants it.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you a story about Hewlett Packard had a program library for the 65 and 67, and they didn't know what to do. First of all, I asked for it, and I kept it for a few years, and then due to circumstances of PPC, it got sent back to HP. HP really couldn't keep it, so they gave it to somebody up in Corvallis. They put it into storage, and after I don't know how many years of paying storage fees and nothing happening, I don't know if they just gave up and tossed it, but everybody was trying to keep it going, but nobody could keep it going.
Yeah, like I have that as an example later on as things not to have happen. As I remember when we were trying to figure out what happened to all this, and that story came out. It's like, well, how can this happen? That it did.
Well, the European version of that library still exists, only because it got put up in Velodic attic and it just sits there.
As a side note, also in the olden days, somebody figured out for data retention, Mylar ASCII punch Mylar tape is going to probably last longer than anything else. But then you still have the problem, what do you do with it?
Who could
You
read
can,
it?
you can make a machine to read that pretty easily. You just look, okay, that's a byte and there's a 1 and a 0. But then what do you do with it when you recover the file? So, and how big is your roll going to be if you want to save your YouTube video on ASCII punch? So there's some problems, but we talked about the magnetic tapes are falling apart and nobody can read that, those old.
Do you have anything on floppy disk?
I do.
Do you have a way to read it?
Sometimes.
Cassettes?
And so
Not
how
data
many
cassette.
more years before we're unable to read things like flash drives?
That's a very good question. Or again,
The day will come, obviously.
yeah, the day will come and there's like there's a new picture format and nobody knows what a JPEG is or a
Yeah.
bitmap. What do you do with that? So it's there's all kinds of problems, but not insurmountable. So things to avoid. I call it software version creep because it's like there was also again something on the HP Museum forum of, well, this was a great, really wonderful software way that we saved all our stuff in back in the day, and now nobody can read all these wonderful files that we saved. So if you're going to save something, save a way to retrieve it too, but then you've given a problem. Computers, software, hardware. This is a bit difficult of a problem and ongoing all the time. Also avoid secrecy if you can. If you got all the stuff saved carefully in your hidden compartment that nobody knows about, and then what good does that do as if you don't know it's there?
Then you forget where you
Yeah.
Yeah.
What to avoid is, my favorite thing is I went to an estate sale many years ago, and this guy was fabulous stuff. And then I got all kinds of things there. And the worst thing is, down the basement, I was kind of playing with this thing as a weird electromechanical calculator thingy, but it was huge and bulky and awkward. I didn't know what it was, so I left it there. And then some days later, this was somebody's like holy grail dream calculator at a guy's estate sale that I didn't get, and I emailed that guy and said, hey, call the company, say, have you thrown it out yet, because I really want that. And my kids have said that this is, if I don't do something, this is what they're going to do with all this stuff that I have saved up. This is their solution. So don't be that poor guy whose wife didn't have any idea what he had and didn't know who to tell about it, and don't be me unless you educate your children.
Bring it here and take care of it.
Here's another thing to avoid. Don't let the user library get dumped into the landfill, no matter how hard or difficult it may seem. That's still has a sore spot in my heart, even though I wasn't involved at that time. It just seems really tragic. There's another one for Richard is if we need to work to avoid making the calculators of today become the collectible silver spoons of tomorrow. That nobody has an appreciation for what they must have been worth. But
Yeah, but the number of people as a percentage of the population, each of us have certain genetic makeups, and everybody has an appreciation for art in some form or music in some form. But when you start getting into mathematics and technical stuff, it really gets down to a
Very
relatively
narrow.
small percentage of the population.
Yeah.
And then you have to have those people be aware and interested. And that's
that's where our challenge is now. Yes.
Yeah, I think Jackie and I have talked about this, and what we've discovered is actually that young people don't really want the thing. They want a picture of the thing, or
yeah.
the data from the thing. They don't want to actually have it, hold it, and have it take up space, probably because they are electronic based and they are more mobile. Because if you have the thing, the more of these you have, the less mobile you become. You can't just pick up, move, take a job in another city.
Yeah.
So they'd rather have a picture than
Yeah,
the
the
actual
picture.
object.
Or as my daughter says,
So
a
you wanna-
picture or the memory of it.
Right.
Yeah. But so I'm there's interest, or so hopefully the same interest that everybody here is trying to get some longevity to our calculator world for when things change. We have some resources to work with. Like this one, we have all of us who are interested and dedicated and have maybe the same type of interest at heart. We have inexpensive storage, which may or may not be useful. It has its problems with if you store something and then 100 years from now, is it still there? Can you get it out? And if you get it out, can you do something with it? So that has its complications.
Well, you know one of the problems of storage, if you have an old farm in Iowa somewhere, and an old barn, and nobody's even thought about the barn for 20 years, and you put something there, it can be there for 100 years. But if you're in the city, the space in the city is so expensive, you just can't keep a space unused for 100 years. You can't do it.
Yeah, so I think storage, like digital storage, is inexpensive, but it illustrates that problem. It's still not free, and there are problems with it. We have communication, and I don't use it very well, but there's cheap and easy communication worldwide. Hopefully there's some interest and some motivation on problems like this. One thing that struck me while I was working on this problem is the underutilized resources is everybody's interested in this who's not in this room. Like, who are all these people driving up the prices on eBay for things that I want to buy?
But how much are they selling?
Yeah, so out there, and why are they buying them, and so there's a bunch of people out there who may not be aware of a community like this. So maybe they are and they don't want anything to do with us, or maybe they just don't know.
Well, maybe it's just they kind of like that. They're not really into it, but they respect it, and it's an investment. That's all.
That could be. That could be. So I might be reading more into that than Jeremy.
Yeah, I've joined two groups which were inspired by this group because of exactly the same kind of concentration of interest. And there's one group that I said, I finally found that this is my sunny beach, and where is everybody else?
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like I found all the people who think like me, and there's only one of them.
Right, yeah.
Another problem is that physical storage space is not cheap or plentiful. So if you save everything, you end up with a mess, and that's not the solution. So what can we do? Here's where I said try to get out of saying there's a problem. So what can we do? I'd like something for plans and actions. One thing that for me, because my problem with my basement and my attic is some kind of a rescue team. If I pass away and my kids go to the basement and they start throwing stuff out, if they come up with a piece of paper that says, hey, call this number, call Gene, and before you know it, in a couple of days, somebody's going to be here and take all the stuff away, and you won't have to worry about it. They would really appreciate that. So
but eventually there'll be just one of us left with all the stuff that belongs to everybody else.
Yeah, so you still have the problem with still have the problem with what to do with it all.
Who do they call on when he dies? The last guy.
Well, you know what we could do is divide the country up into regions or zones, and then the people who are in that zone get out a list that if you are living in that zone, you take that list of people and put that on a piece of paper with the junk.
Yeah, not junk, the valuable stuff.
The valuable resources.
So what else can we do? There's we've got scan the documentation. I know the real book is a good thing, but scanning an electronic retrievable readable copy is almost as good. Well, not quite, but
better
still,
in some ways, actually.
Better in some ways and worse in others. What I have to say here, so if you formulate a plan, look at the hardware. Have some kind of a plan for hardware retention. This is where I get hung up because I don't want somebody to end up with a bigger basement that's fuller and more cluttered than mine is. But there's a lot of museum pieces out there that should be maintained and appreciated, and a lot of other ones that still have value, so it could be sold somehow.
Can I interject a story there related to the
sure.
museum point? So many of you have probably been to the Corvallis site back when the calculators were there and saw their wall of fame, that they had plaques with the calculators and the history of them and everything. another HP site, and I do not know which one, but another site had a similar calculator wall of fame, even though they were not the site that produced calculators. And they wanted to donate that set of exhibits to the Computer History Museum in Mountain View. And this Computer History Museum said, sure, send them our way. And they did, and they were acquisitioned. And it turned out the Computer History Museum only wanted the calculators, did not want the plaques. And so they separated the calculators from the plaques and put them into the museum's own exhibits, and they were going to toss the plaques away. And I don't think he's ever been to an HHC, but a friend of mine who volunteered at the museum said, oh, do you not want those? Can I have them? So he took them, refurbished them, put mounting and his calculator collection on them, and they're in his house now. But museums don't necessarily want the things that enthusiasts think should be preserved.
Interesting. Yeah, as I put museum pieces in the quotation marks, because it's like things that we would appreciate that maybe they won't. I also thought it a good idea if we have knowledge or secrets that other people might not have, maybe good to write the stories down somehow, somewhere. Again, I don't know how to publicize that. And to promote awareness of the need of stuff like this. You have a question?
And another thing is, I want to make a makerspace in Corvallis. And but in a sense, if you encourage people to join communities of like-minded people, then that would increase this kind of activity anyway.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yes, that's so further down my conclusion is like do some outreach and talk people into joining and being concerned. And what's already been going on by influential and powerful people here is back up one. Well, sorry, I'm skipping ahead, I guess. But so outreach and publicize some kind of marketing or awareness campaigns. Get some interested parties. I'm so happy that there's a handful of people. This is their first HHC, which is terrific. So we keep that kind of thing going. This is really motivating. Organize and communicate, and have a goal and a plan and a direction and a consistent thing. Richard has strongly suggested, which I kind of agree with, having some kind of a centralized person or persons on this type of topic that can organize and collate and report on ideas and progress. And when should we do this?
ASAP.
ASAP. But I do want to go back. Somewhere in here, I should have said that we are scanning things. We're saving the the old internet discussions. Eric and a lot of people have been really actively working on this. It's a huge effort, and I've not been a part of that, but I've been watching from a distance on occasion, and it's very impressive the work that people here and others in the community out there are doing for saving what they can, storing, finding stuff that has been lost, and maybe recovering it and putting it somewhere where it might be found again in the future. So it's going on now, and we need to keep it going on now because the end is near or very close. My summary. So, sorry I put on this. Probably we're all going to die, and what is going to happen to our calculator stuff? I know mine. I hope my kids will make that phone call to somebody, and at least some good stuff, because there's some good stuff there, and a lot of it is. But I don't want it to go to the dumpster or the landfill. So there's a list of things we can do. Acknowledge the need, get like the idea of the rescue team going, archive, document, communicate, organize, plan, promote the community and the interest and why these things are interesting and worthy of preservation.
There's things that happened a couple of years ago. Is a system on the internet. It's called Meetups, and then old person interested in old computers or anything either new or old are starting community, electronic community that in meetups, and they set up meetings and they create they people interested in things they meet, and even though they're actually creating what you're asking for, awareness and restarting to expand, and they have groups for Amiga, all kinds of old computings, and also new technologies, and just so that's maybe a way.
That could be, yeah, that's a good use of the technology. I hadn't heard that before, so I don't get out very much, so. So the final summary is like, we prepare for the end, and it's, try to do something nice for the future with regards to calculators, because somebody there in the future might appreciate it if we do. And there's some contact info at the back. If you want to email me, that's fine. It's the best way to find me. So thanks. I think it's a fairly important issue. It's, it worries me a little bit, so I get moved on. Thanks for your time.